When I say the word sustainability, it probably stirs up some emotions. Some people are excited and lean in to learn more, but a lot of people feel something else entirely. It could be confusion, fatigue, and sometimes quiet resistance. And I don't think it's because of a lack of care or desire to do the right thing, but it's really too bad because we should all be excited when we hear about sustainability. And I think the reason not everyone is that we started this conversation in the wrong place. So you might think the name of my talk is a little unusual, given that I work in sustainability. But I do think we made sustainability hard to love. Not because the goal is wrong. The goal is definitely right. But because the message we led with didn't work for us, especially in geotechnical engineering and construction. I think there are three messages in particular that unintentionally harmed the movement. And I want to talk about them honestly, because the next chapter of sustainability depends on us fixing our delivery. And the first message is carbon. And I know this one personally because I've done it. I've stood on this stage and led with carbon. I had the charts, I had the numbers, I had the spreadsheet. It was a solid talk, and people told me they liked it. Then they went back to work, and even if they had the passion and they now had the tools, in most cases there was pushback, other things became the priority, and change didn't happen. Talking about carbon emissions just wasn't resonating. Then I was leading a training session for our engineers on how to calculate carbon emissions for their designs. Spreadsheet on the screen, assumptions, formulas, everything. And a colleague stopped me and asked a really good question. Wait, why is carbon bad? What do carbon emissions do exactly? And I was taken aback because it made me realize something. Of course, I can explain what excess carbon molecules are doing in the atmosphere, but that is so unintuitive. And it's just not something that most of us in this industry know about or have time to learn about. And the truth is, carbon is not inherently bad. Carbon is essential. It's in our bodies, it's in our plants, our soil. It makes our planet inhabitable. So when we say carbon is bad, it actually creates cognitive dissonance for those of us with a scientific background. What we actually mean is more specific. Carbon dioxide in the atmosphere acts like a blanket. A little blanket is good, it keeps Earth livable. But when we add too much, too fast, the blanket gets too thick, and now the planet can't function the way we're used to. It's not that carbon is evil, it's that the system is out of balance for us and because of us. And that explanation matters, but it's still a tough sell, because if your movement requires a mini science lesson before you can even start the discussion, and it's centered around something you can't see, you're going to lose a lot of people at the door. The second message is LEED. Let me say up front, LEED has done incredible things. It helped those working in the built environment pay closer attention to sustainability issues that they hadn't noticed before. It addresses many aspects of sustainability. It made better buildings mainstream. It gave us some really incredible innovations, and it changed what good looks like. But it also created an unintended association. Sustainability equals expensive. LEED buildings look premium. They feel premium. And a lot of time, they are premium. And I see this consequence constantly, because every time I talk to leaders, engineers, and project managers, someone says, no one will pay for sustainability. And every time I'm a little shocked, not because I don't understand budgets and low bids, I do, but because so much of sustainability is not more, it's less. It's a lens we can look through to get less material, less waste, less rework, less fuel. The low-hanging fruit of sustainability is doing less, and almost every time we do that, we save money. Yet somehow we let sustainability be branded as a luxury product. The third message is what I call the Wall Street Journal fallacy. And I want to be clear, I read the Wall Street Journal, it's great. I just see this particular argument show up in their op-ed pages and then it spreads everywhere. But the real name is the Nirvana fallacy. And it goes like this: if there's one thing not perfect about a new technology, we should abandon it. I hear this all the time with sustainability tech, and in particular batteries. When I say, This battery electric equipment is better for X, Y, and Z reasons. Someone will say, yeah, but battery manufacturing isn't clean. The mining is bad. The materials aren't perfect. And they're right. Those are real issues. But with the nirvana fallacy, we demand perfection from the new thing because we're comparing it to an idealized, perfect alternative that doesn't exist, instead of comparing it to the actual existing technology, which in this case is using fossil fuels, which is causing intense, irreparable harm. And it's incredibly effective because it makes good people hesitate, it makes supportive people falter, it keeps us from thinking long-term. Because technologies get better when we invest in them, when we scale them, when we have the runtime to improve them. But to get there, we have to start with a not totally perfect solution so we can demonstrate its benefits, develop the market, and get the funding to innovate on it. If we wait for perfect, we'll never move forward. So let's zoom out. What can we tease from these three messages? Well, we accidentally made sustainability invisible, expensive, and held to an impossible standard. Invisible because carbon is abstract. Expensive because sustainability became associated with premium design and construction. An impossible standard because if there was one thing wrong, we let it kill momentum. And when sustainability feels invisible, expensive, and that it has to be perfect, of course it's hard to love. So this is the pivot. Instead of leading with those three things, I think we should lead with three different messages. Messages that are tangible, practical, and about progress. First, instead of carbon, we can lead with things like clean and quiet. People don't fall in love with reducing CO2 equivalent emissions. They fall in love with benefits they can feel. On a job site, if you can eliminate a fossil fuel generator because you have solar panels and a battery, people automatically love it. Not because they want to reduce carbon emissions, because it's quieter. The fumes are gone. You're not constantly refueling. The whole site feels better. That's sustainability people can feel in their body. Second, instead of leading with expensive buildings, lead with less waste equals less cost. In engineering and construction, there's a lot of waste. Designing with too much conservatism, which wastes material and effort. Moving forward with limited data, causing redesign and rework that is rushed and almost always wasteful. When you reduce waste, you reduce cost. That is sustainability. Not a plaque on a wall in a building, not a luxury product, just smarter work. And third, instead of holding an impossible standard, lead with progress over perfection. The honest message isn't, this is a perfect solution that will save the planet. The honest message is this is better than what we have, and it's going to get even better. And this is empowering. It immediately stops the nirvana fallacy, and now it gets people bought in. Like, oh, you need my feedback on this technology since we're still developing it? I can do that. Because trust me, people love to give feedback. And there's one more thing I want to give you because this is where sustainability often dies. It doesn't die in strategy, it dies in the meeting. It dies when someone says, that sounds nice, but we can't do that here. Our client won't pay for it. So here's what I've learned. We need to be a little stealthy. Because sustainability is the concept, but people don't run projects on concepts, they run projects on outcomes. So for those of us with the tools and passion, we can run the carbon calculations and we can find the most sustainable solution. And thank you to those of you who are already doing this, we need you. But we can translate what we want our project's teams to do into messages that actually affect change and don't scare them off. Instead of saying, we can lower carbon by using this hybrid generator, try, we need to cut fuel use and idle time on our generators because it costs money, runs down the engines, and makes the site worse to work on. That's not hard to understand. That's common sense. Instead of saying this design is the sustainable option because it uses less materials and materials with lower carbon footprints, try, this is the option with less material costs. Instead of saying this new technology is perfect, try, this isn't perfect, but it's better than what we have, and it's improving fast. If we adopt it thoughtfully, we get some benefits now and help drive the next set of improvements later. When we're trying to get buy-in, we should probably stop asking people to care about carbon first, because that is the thread that ties all of the wrong messages together. We can ask them to care about outcomes they already want, but also outcomes they may only realize are possible if at least one person on the team is looking through that sustainability lens. And here's why I'm pushing this so hard. Because when we lead with the wrong message, we don't just lose an argument, We lose time, we lose momentum, we lose out on the small opportunities that could have been easy wins. We lose the culture shift that could have made people proud. We lose the chance to make work cleaner, quieter, safer, and more efficient. And we lose hope. But when you lead with tangible benefits, sustainability stops being a debate. It simply becomes a better way of working. Because most people don't outright want to reject sustainability. Just many times they assume it's a trade-off. Better for the project or better for the environment. And the best sustainability ideas are the and. Less fuel, less cost, less waste, less risk, cleaner air, better job sites. Oh, and this reduces carbon emissions and other environmental impacts. Sustainability isn't the compromise, it's the upgrade. So yes, we made sustainability hard to love. We led with carbon people couldn't see, certifications most projects couldn't afford, and perfection standards no technology could meet. But it doesn't have to stay that way. We can make sustainability easy to love by leading with what people can feel: clean and quiet job sites, less waste and lower cost, progress that compounds over time, safer work, healthier communities, pride in what we build. So I'll admit it, we got off on the wrong foot, but let's switch feet. Because once people love the outcomes, the carbon will take care of itself. Thank you.